This is a story that came out on Mercatornet, June 13th, 2019. U.S. fertility hits its lowest rate ever. Wow. Whenever you thought it couldn't get worse, there's always another story that comes along and shows you, yes, it definitely can get worse. Wow. The last story I read said it was at its lowest. Now, here comes this story. The U.S. fertility rate has now hit its lowest ever figures in American history, according to newly released provisional data from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. The figures show a further 2% drop from 1.7655 children per woman in 2017 to 1.728 children per woman in 2018. The rate is again well under the normal replacement rate of 2.1 children per woman over the course of her life. The continued decline means that demographers are losing hope that the rate will increase because women who might have been delaying having children until later in life will catch up. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They are so far behind. They said even if these folks had babies for the next 10 years, they would never catch up to the groups that did not have this kind of decline. They still wouldn't catch up. Instead, it is increasingly looking like low birth rates are here to stay. Fertility in the US has been below replacement rate since 1972. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want all of you that were born in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000, tell me, did you ever hear that before? Did they ever say that the US was below replacement rate since 1972? They never said this before. Maybe they're starting to feel like they're not going to win this battle at all. By age, birth rate in 2018 dropped 7% for teenagers, dropped 4% for women aged 20 to 24, dropped 3% for women 25 to 29, dropped 1% for women aged 30 to 34, increased 1% for women aged 35 to 35. Really? Shouldn't that be 35 to 39? Okay, I think they may have made an error on that one. Increased 2% for women age 40 to 44 and was unchanged for women 45 and older. Are smaller families of 0, 1, or 2 children simply the new norm of choice? Or would American women genuinely like to have more babies, but are struggling with issues such as fertility, finances, and support? Actually, they're struggling with a lot of things, okay? But see, today's woman is choosing a career over babies. And I noticed they're not even mentioning that in the article. They really are. Many of them would prefer to have a good career, make good money, and just stay on their own, opposed to bringing children into their life. And some choose no children at all. I've done those stories too, where women say they absolutely are not having any children, they don't want them. The increasing age of first time mothers certainly won't be helping due to unexpected infertility and less time to have further children. And that's another thing. Infertility is a huge problem, not only among the men, but the women too. They said treatment for male infertility increased 700%. So that tells you right there, it is a huge problem going on with the men. And it's just not being heavily spoken about at all. Periodically I will come across those stories, but it is more common to come across stories talking about the women opposed to the men. It is also likely that the rising costs of raising children is at least a factor, along with expectation of more intensive parenting practices. The United States is the only remaining industrialized country in the world that does not offer some form of paid maternity leave. Exactly. The way the US got laws set up in this country, they are not very family friendly at all. Never have been. They want to always rush you back into the workplace, and it should not be that way. I think if they would have done a better job with the maternity laws and leave and giving both the mother and father time off, I think you might see a whole different outcome today. All OECD countries, except the US, provide at least 12 weeks paid maternity leave. And most countries provide additional pay parental leave on top of that as well. Well, a lot of those countries also have free health care, and America has yet to do that. Like I said, it's not a very family friendly country when you really look at the whole scheme of things here. It really isn't. Since Congress passed the Family and Medical Leave Act of 1993, Americans have been allowed to take up to 12 weeks unpaid leave to care for a new child. Why is it unpaid? Why is it unpaid? Like I said, not very family friendly. Not to mention that a lot of these young people, they struggle to pay for childcare. When you look at the expense that you have to put out just to raise a children plus have a career, you will you actually will become broke a lot faster. It's ridiculous. But see, this is what happens when you have people running things that have no common sense, no soul, and have no real sense of what it takes to build a family. They have no sense of it at all. Everything is get back to work, start working, get back to work. I mean, you can't build a country that way. And then now you're turning around and wondering why people are choosing not to have children. Maybe it's what you did that caused them to be turned off by it. But, I understand it's very difficult to think that way with a high IQ. Though it can't be all downhill to finances because declining birth rates are a worldwide phenomena, with many countries bending over backwards with financial policies to support families to have more babies and still not having much luck because it's a genetic thing. It's a genetic thing. It's a genetic thing. Though perhaps more countries could support the family unit as a whole, though policies such as income splitting. It is time for America to have a closer look at fertility problem. I think it's too late for America. I really do. You know, they're well below the replacement rate. And as far as supporting the family and money and stuff, it's a genetic thing, ladies and gentlemen. You know what we're looking at? Just like the Neanderthal disappeared from Earth, I think we're seeing why they disappeared from this Earth. They stopped reproducing. And then eventually they just faded away. I think that's what happened to them. You know, I know people talking about asteroid strikes and all that stuff. I don't believe that is what happened. I think history is repeating itself once again. Those Neanderthals disappeared when modern man was, mingling, and they were living around each other, and they just was not reproducing, but the modern man was. And because they were infertile towards the end of the time that they were here, they just faded away. And I think that's what we're looking at today. Because, I mean, let's face it, is the ones that have the most Neanderthal DNA, the Chinese, the Asians and the whites, that are the ones that are struggling with fertility problems. And who were the Neanderthals? Asians and white people, virtually everybody on this planet except for black people. We are real human DNA. That's what we have. But I really think we now know what happened to those original Neanderthals, ladies and gentlemen. Their offspring are going through the same thing that they went through worldwide. They stopped reproducing, they disappeared. But you can tell me what you think, but I really believe that's what it is. It's a cycle that has happened before on this planet, and it's happening again. Please tell me what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, I know this is more serious because the stories are coming out a lot more often than ever before. That's how you know it has now reached a very critical level. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.